Dear Ms. Adelson, can you please tell me about the founders of Chicago's Merit School of Music?
Oh, sure, I'd be happy to tell you about these two incredible women, Emma Endres Counts and Alice S. Pfaelzer. And Emma and Alice were both formidable women, very charismatic. When they walked into a room, everybody stood up or sat up straighter and paid attention right away. They just commanded your attention. They were both pianists. Emma was a professional pianist. In fact, she was head of the docent program at the Chicago Symphony for a while, did many other things in Chicago. And she was such a wonderful pianist, Rachmaninoff once gave her one of his practice pianos, that she owned. So she had quite a legacy and a history as an artist. And Alice was a passionate amateur pianist who was very accomplished and had a broad reach in social circles in Chicago. And between the two, Alice lined up all the supporters for the school, and Emma put the original curriculum in place and hired the teachers. And they made a wonderful partners, and they had a wonderful partnership in really founding the school and setting it on its course that I think it still is attuned to today. I really believe when you walk up and down the halls and you hear music coming from every classroom, you see the high standards, you hear the high standards that our teachers bring our students up to, and you see the breadth and the depth of what merit is all about, that you're really seeing and feeling what Emma and Alice put in place so many years ago. Now, Emma retired shortly after she helped co-found Merit and moved to Ohio to be closer to family. Alice remained at Merit as executive director, the founding executive director, until 1992. And so when I joined Merit in the 80s, I had many wonderful years where I had the privilege of working with Alice, alongside Alice, to really grow the school. And she became a very important mentor to me. So I really feel that this award is particularly meaningful to me because she was such a special and important mentor to me.
Congratulations on that award. And can you please tell me about the mission of the school?
Well, Merit's mission is really to remove barriers so that students can reach their fullest musical potential possible based on their own God-given talent and their willingness to really work hard. And Merit is done for 40 years and is doing a better job than ever of removing those barriers as we've grown from a very teeny school. You know, we had 150 students and 9 teachers in our first year in 1979 to a school with 3,500 students today and well over 140 faculty members, teachers. Through all that growth, that has meant that Merit has been able to better remove those barriers every year, able to remove more barriers so that more students can achieve their potential. I've always felt that talent is equally distributed in every block, in every neighborhood, in every city, and across the country, and throughout the world. What's not equally distributed is opportunity. And what Merit does is it brings opportunity to talented and gifted young people who would not otherwise have it in many cases. And that's really important.
Oh, that's wonderful. And many of your students are probably on the stage now. Many of them are, using this knowledge maybe in other jobs and other fields. Can you please tell me a few names?
Well, we have many students who have gone on many career paths, and who tell me to this day, who are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, and some a little older, who tell me that their Merit experience was so transformational to what they're doing today and the way they look at the world and move forward as a citizen in the world. In the musical realm, just 3 students who come to mind who are real musical stars out there include Anthony McGill, who is principal clarinetist in the New York Philharmonic, and his brother Damari McGill, who's principal flutist of the Seattle Symphony, and Noah Geller, who's concertmaster of the Seattle Symphony. Those are just 3 examples of merit graduates who are out doing spectacular musical things with their lives, and also are so devoted to connecting to the community and making the community a better place. And Anthony just told me recently that he's serving on a board of an organization that does some of the same things that Merit is doing, but in New York, to provide opportunities for young people who would not otherwise have them. So I think that, and I've talked to some other alums in New York City who are music teachers doing wonderful things as teachers, and they're telling me, we want to start a Merit school in New York because there isn't anything quite like Merit, even though they're wonderful community music schools everywhere across the country. There isn't anything quite like Merit, and so they're trying to cook up ways that they could start a version, a chapter of Merit out there on the East Coast. So I think that, yes, many of our graduates carry this forward, and like a rock thrown in the water, the little ripples turn into big ripples, which turn into big waves, which have big impacts on many shores.
But what does make this music school different? You say there are many other schools, but this one is special. What makes it special?
Well, it starts with the commitment to removing barriers, certainly, and all the ways that, many ways that some of them are obvious, like providing instruction that is either free or low fee for most of your students. They're really removing that financial barrier. Also to putting in place a pathway that makes it possible to first of all, have an opportunity when you start out in many of Merit's Music in Communities programs out in Chicago Public Schools, other schools, community centers, in neighborhoods where many kids would probably not have an opportunity to study music, so that they are able to start in those programs, and then there's a pathway that they can continue on if they love what they're doing, to really hone their skills and reach a college level of performance, so that they could be accepted into some of the finest conservatories across the country, if that's what they want to do. There is that pathway in place, and it involves many parts and pieces and many different aspects. And there's also the culture of an institution. The culture is so important. Every institution has its own personality, but when you walk through the doors of Merit, there's this certain feeling. It's a combination of pushing musically and pushing students to achieve the highest standards, and nurturing. When to push, when to give a hug, and everybody here is pushing and hugging. So it's a school and a building that is like a self-contained world, that where every adult has an opportunity to be a role model for our students, whether they're teachers or they're staff members. From the receptionist, who's the most important person, the first person you see, with a big smile on her face when you walk in the front door, to everybody who works in the school. They have an opportunity to be that kind of role model for our kids. And it's infectious, Parents feel it, students feel it, they share it with one another, they share it with their other kids, they share it when they go home in their neighborhoods. And that's how you can make a huge impact from a very focused activity like music education they are.
Okay. Thank you so much for your
But I
time.
will tell you this,
Yes.
that we have not only students from the city of Chicago here, but in our tuition-free conservatory, the Alice Pfaelzer tuition-free conservatory, we have students from the whole Chicago region, from beyond the city. And that's one of the magical things that happens, is that kids who would not otherwise meet one another not only meet one another, they share music stand with one another. They become intimate music makers with each other, and often best friends, and that's another wonderful thing that happens here.
This community, this city, the whole state, I believe, the whole country really appreciates what you're doing and what you have done over these years.
It's been a privilege for me.
Yes.
Nothing short of a very large privilege. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time today, and for your talent, and for your devoted heart.
Thank you. Thank you very
for all
much.
your hard work. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
you.